running late. We're not the best timekeepers in Ireland. If you're meeting a group of friends, you're always guaranteed that someone will be running late, and it's not really a big deal. It's not that unusual for someone to be half an hour or even an hour late. I was raised by a Canadian mother, so growing up I was always the first to arrive at everything, and I'm still punctual today. So it's not unusual for me to be sitting at a table for 40 minutes waiting for my friends to arrive, but it's just a more relaxed attitude towards timekeeping in Ireland. Running late, it happens all the time, and it's just not a big deal. The next one is please and thank you. The Irish are very polite, and we say please and thank you all the time to everyone, but the most important person to thank is always the bus driver. You always say thank you to the bus driver or some kind of acknowledgement when you get off the bus, either a cheers or a thanks or a good luck. It's a sin in Ireland to not thank the bus driver. That's a very important one. The next one is slagging. This can be very confusing for people outside of Ireland to really understand, but slagging is making fun of someone or being mean to someone, but in a loving way, in a fun way, because you're friends. So, and it's usually the meaner you are, the more close a friendship you have with them. So someone saying to a bald man, hey baldy, is actually just nice, it's fun. As weird as that sounds. Or like my friends, for example, I'm notoriously bad with my tea making skills. So if I ever offer someone a cup of tea, they kind of say, are you making it? Or don't let her near the kettle. And I know it's just because they love me. So it might come across as friends just being really mean to each other, but it's not meant like that. It's meant like in a nice way. I know this sounds weird. And as I said, I'm not great with my tea making abilities, but the next one is tea. Tea is very important in Ireland. As soon as someone walks into your house, the first thing you do is offer them tea. If you have a workman or a gardener around, you offer them a cup of tea. If someone gets bad news, the first thing a person says is, will I make you a cup of tea? Tea makes everything better, and it solves a lot of Irish people's problems. There's also a big debate about Lyons versus Barry's tea, which one is better, and that's open to interpretation, but it's a very important topic because tea is a very important part of Irish culture. The next one is dining etiquette. I think the dining etiquette in Ireland is the same, the same table manners for a lot of Western countries. Things like when you're dining, you don't start your food until every single person at the table has their food in front of them. You don't chew with your mouth open, you don't talk with food in your mouth. If you've got a mouthful of food, you kind of, until you're finished eating, and then you speak. You don't blow your nose at the table. I remember someone blew their nose at my grandmother's house at the table, and she nearly had a heart attack, and it's still spoken about to this day. So don't blow your nose at the table. Don't put your elbows on the table. I think a lot of these are just kind of the standard table manners for most Western countries. The next one is sorry. In Ireland, sorry is not always an apology. It can also just mean excuse me. So if someone drops something, you want to get their attention, you say sorry. But this also changes depending on the tone. If someone, if you're in a queue and someone cuts you, skips the queue, and if you say sorry in that tone, it means what the hell do you think you're doing? And that leads me to my next one, which is queuing. In Ireland, queuing is observed pretty much everywhere where there's some kind of service. And it's very, very bad etiquette to skip a queue. You always join at the end of the queue. I've been to some countries where if you queue, you will be there all day because it's not observed and people just all go to the front. It's not like that in Ireland. Queuing is very important. In bus stops, restaurants, hotels, shops, markets, all that stuff, queuing is very important. The only place there isn't really official queues is in pubs or bars, where everyone kind of scrambles around the bar trying to get the barman's attention. But at the same time, there's kind of an unwritten rule that, if you come up to the bar and the barman comes to take your order, you do kind of say, well, he was here first, or she's been here longer than me. It'd be very, very bad manners to let yourself be served before someone that was waiting there before you. The next one is go on. In Ireland, if someone offers you something, the custom is to refuse it first and let them insist. Like, when you have a glass of wine, no, I'm grand, thanks. Go on. Okay, I will, thanks. Or, do you want a lift? Oh no, I'm fine walking. Go on. Okay, thanks. Even if you really want something, you always do a first refusal and let the person insist. I remember one time I was in an airport in America and I was buying a ton of sweets and magazines, and this American guy that was beside me, and we got chatting, and he said to the cashier, I'll buy all this for her. And I did the polite Irish refusal of, no, I'm grand, thanks. And I expected him to do the kind of, no, I insist. And instead he got so offended. He was absolutely furious, and he stormed off because I was so rude for blowing him off like that. And it was just a really awkward situation. I was just trying to do the polite thing. I would have loved for him to buy those sweets for me, but yeah, so it got pretty awkward. Next up is greetings. When you meet someone for the first time, you usually shake hands. If you're greeting an acquaintance, it's usually a nod of the head. If you're greeting a friend, it's usually, for girls, a hug, a kiss on the cheek. Men usually do that half hug, half handshake. But that's even if there is any physical contact, because the Irish people aren't really into public displays of affection, and they kind of just like to keep their distance. So a lot of the time it's just a how are you, and leave it at that. And that leads me to my next one, which is how are you. How are you is a greeting, it's not a question. So if someone says how are you, they're not asking how are you, they're just greeting you. So don't say, oh, not great today, I did this and I went here and I'm feeling this. No one really wants to know that. They're just saying how are you as hi. And you can respond one of two ways to a how are you. You can either just say grand or not a bother, or you can say how are you back at them. It's not unusual for two people to say how are you, and leave it at that and not answer the question. Just a greeting. By the way, I'm saying how are you, that's, my husband would pronounce it how are you, because he's from Dublin. I'm from Wicklow, so I'd pronounce it how are you, but it means the same kind of thing. The next one is swearing. Irish people swear a lot, and if you're not used to it, you might think they're being really rude by using that amount of profanity, but Irish people don't really consider it profanity, and we just swear a lot in our everyday conversations. You know, if we're really passionate or excited about something, we'll throw a few swear words in. I remember one time listening to my husband and his friends, and they were really excited about a plan they were putting together, and they were going, oh, we'll effing go here and we'll effing pick this up, and then we'll effing go here and effing do that, and then effing da da. And I pointed out, do you guys realize how much you're swearing? And they were like, we were swearing? Like, they hadn't even noticed it, because it's just part of everyday normal language. So yeah, don't get offended and don't think it's rude if someone swears a lot at you, because it's not really meant as a profanity. The next one is bye, bye, bye. Ireland is known as the land of 1,000 welcomes, but we're also really good at the 1,000 byes. It's impossible for an Irish person to just say bye once. You know, if we're on the phone and we're ending the conversation, it's a bye, 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 bye. And then if you're in the pub and you want to leave, you usually say bye about 10 to 15 minutes before you anticipate actually leaving, because again, you can't just say bye and leave. You have to say bye and then get sucked into another conversation, say bye, and then say, oh, by the way, did you hear this? And you kind of have to prepare for the real bye with a load of leading up to it byes. And then sometimes people get so sucked into all the little byes that in the end they just turn and walk out of the place without saying the real goodbye, because it's all been sucked out of them. So yeah, a lot of byes in Ireland. Bye, 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 bye. The next one is waving at strangers. In Dublin or any bigger cities this might not happen, but whenever you go into the country or rural areas, everyone waves at everyone when you're driving around. And I didn't know this for a while, so when I was younger and everyone was waving at me in the country, I just always assumed they thought I was someone else and they thought they knew me, so I never waved back. And then one day my husband pointed out, you're being so rude, they're being nice, waving to you, and you're ignoring them. And I had never known that. So, and I love this one. I love going to the country now and waving at everyone, and everyone waves back. It's such a nice thing. And it's kind of like a wave, like one finger or a few fingers off the steering wheel at other people, and they do the same to you. You don't do a full-on wave, though. That would just be weird. The next one is I'll let you go. If you're having a conversation with someone and you want to end it, the polite way to do it is to say, I'll let you go, or sorry, I won't keep you any longer. If someone says this to you, they're really saying, I have to go. So don't respond to that by, no, you're not keeping me, or no, I have nowhere to be. And just say, all right, thanks, I'll see you. But yeah, I'll let you go is the nice way of getting out of somewhere where you're kind of finished with. So anyway, I'll let you go.